The Sydney City Council has enraged the liquor industry with its latest move to constrain late-night drinking outlets. The council wants increased power to close some bars and licensed premises at midnight to answer persistent complaints from residents about excessive noise and alcohol-related violence. In the latest round in what will soon become a state election issue, the Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research has been consistent. It says constraining liquor trading hours has produced a dramatic reduction in violent assaults and other crimes. This was based on a reduced hours regime at Newcastle, which is now permanent. Police, ambulance officers and nurses support restricted trading hours, saying they cop the full ugly force of drunken and violent binge drinking behaviour, which Police Commissioner Andrew Scipione warns is almost out of control. The powerful Australian Hotels Association has a different perspective. I spoke to AHA CEO Sally Fielke a short time ago. Sally Fielke, welcome to Stateline. Do you acknowledge that the restricted trading hours now operating in Newcastle have resulted in a marked reduction in alcohol-related violence, leading to this momentum to constrain trading hours?
Well, one of our concerns about the Newcastle restrictions is that, look, there has been a reduction in assault, that's true, but there were a number of restrictions there, 14-odd, in addition to the trading hours and lockouts, etc. Now, we don't know what one or combination of factors may have led to a reduction in assaults, but one of the concerns is whether it was a bit of a sledgehammer to peanut type approach in any event, because, yeah, there was a reduction in assaults, but 9 of the 14 hotels with the restrictions either closed, changed hands or went into receivership. So our concern is just putting out a band-aid approach of just closing venues early or putting in place lockouts is not necessarily the answer.
But you can't prove that restricting trading hours doesn't result in the reduction in assaults. And
we're not asserting that, but we're saying there was a combination of restrictions there in place, one of which was restricting of trading hours. We don't know which one or combination of had the effect, but we do know that it decimated the hotel industry in Newcastle. We saw a drop in employment across that sector of about 21%, not to mention the decimation of the late-night trading economy in Newcastle, as well as a reduction and decimation of the live music industry.
Everybody would acknowledge there are economic downsides to a constraint on trade, but look at the social upsides. Isn't Clover Moore and the Sydney City Council right in saying if there are recalcitrant outlets in the Sydney CBD, they should close at midnight, and let's see what impact that has on amenity and safety?
Certainly, and those checks and balances are already in place by the state government. Currently, licensing hours are regulated by the Office of Liquor, Gaming and Racing. You apply for your liquor licence, you apply for your extended trading hours through that office. What Clover Moore is seeking to do in her council is basically expand her power base over and above the checks and balances that are already in place by state government.
At the demand of the constituents.
Well, as I said, these checks and balances are already in place and governed by state government. Another thing that people don't realise is there's about 3 different bodies that control and regulate them.
You're a regulated industry, but what we're confronted with is a binge culture. You acknowledge that such a binge culture exists, and there's a broader debate, not completely about your legal rights to serve alcohol. There's a broader debate about personal responsibility and the binge culture that's impacting on youth at the moment.
Well, indeed, and this is the concern, is from a licensed venue perspective, we are very highly regulated, and look, so we should be. We are selling what is a legal product that needs controlled management. But the concern is the target is always on the venues. We're selling the same beer we were selling 15 years ago, but in fact we've increased our responsible service of alcohol initiatives. The industry is spending more on security than ever before, something like $500 million a year. Why
do you need to spend so much on security? Let me put this to you. What have you, apart from those measures that you've outlined, done as a responsible body to confront binge culture in particular? This belief by young people in particular, they have to hammer themselves, even when they're half intoxicated, hammer themselves with more alcohol late at night.
Look, and that is a massive concern, and the thing you haven't touched on as well is drugs. That's also coming into the mix there. But whilst we're working hard on premise in terms of what we can do, what's not being addressed and what we're putting more energy behind and asking government to do the same is responsible consumption of alcohol, education, more measures to encourage personal responsibility, and acknowledgement of the fact that the majority of people do actually go out and do so responsibly, and we're dealing with a small minority of idiots here.
Well, let's talk about responsible. Let's talk about drugs in particular. The emergency department of the Gold Coast Hospital has done an analysis. It's coined the term the amphetamine myth because the fact is that while 3 to 6% of emergency patients have ingested amphetamines or psychostimulants, 70% have ingested alcohol alone. All the emergency workers, the cops, the nurses, and the ambulance officers say this is the fact of the matter. It's alcohol.
Well, I'll quote you the New South Wales statistics, and if you look just at the Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research data that most recently came out, cocaine use and possession was up 76.6%. That's over and above 55.5% last time. Narcotics up 11.9%. Other drug use up 40.6%.
So it's all drugs, not alcohol?
No, it's either a combination of drugs and alcohol. That's our main concern, and this is the worry. All the responsible service of alcohol training in the world is basically ineffective when drugs are thrown into the mix, and we're just asking for some acknowledgement of that so we can tailor our solutions.
OK, there's a lot of responsibility on you. You've acknowledged that. There's another suggestion on this question of responsible service of alcohol that could you not offer the prohibition on the sale of shots and mixed drinks with more than 30 millilitres of alcohol and ready mixed drinks stronger than 5% alcohol after 10 p.m. I'm quoting from Leonie Calver, clinical nurse specialist in toxicology research at the Calvary Mater.
Look, and a lot of venues are doing that. We have about 140-something local liquor records throughout New South Wales.
Ms Fielke, the AHA hasn't put out a ruling saying we as a responsible body have got to change behaviour. We can constrict the behaviour by saying we're not going to sell shots after 10 p.m. Because
we don't believe that a blanket ban is the answer. There is nothing wrong with going into a venue. If you've been on shift work and you've knocked off work at midnight, you want to go out for 2 drinks for a couple of hours, go your hardest.
But
there is nothing wrong
they're
with
hammering
having that
themselves.
Drink.
All the evidence, all the anecdotal evidence indicates they're hammering themselves.
Not true. Across New South Wales.
I'm sorry to interrupt. The police commissioner at a function we were both at the start of the year said he's got to keep the riot squad in full kit on standby to come out to contain alcohol-related violence.
In New South Wales alone in the last 12 months, we had a drop of assaults in and around licensed venues of 10.8%, and that's through a lot of good work of the licensees as well as the police for that matter. So let's continue down that path. We're also working strongly through our local liquor records, putting in place a range of different options. But the other thing too is we are catering to a large market. We have 6 million patrons going through our venues throughout all of New South Wales on a weekly basis with little to no incident, and it's actually quite concerning that this message is being put out there that this state is so violent, when in fact it's the premier state. Sydney is a leading global international city, and we're working hard with Tourism New South Wales and with the state government to promote it as such. It's not about locking the state up, putting everyone to bed at 10 p.m. It's about promoting a responsible, vibrant culture that caters to the needs of everybody, and to do so safely.
Sally Fielke, thanks very much.
Thank you.